Well, hello, and thank you for joining me for another Alex on Tech and iTWire interview. Today, I'm joined by Jason Bradshaw. He is a 2020 global guru on customer service, a best-selling author, a keynote speaker, and the Chief Customer and Marketing Officer of Volkswagen Australia. Welcome to the program.
Hey, Alex, it's so great to be with you today and with all your viewers.
Thank you. Now, Volkswagen is opening the world's smallest car dealership, and you've got an AR or augmented reality experience. So can you please tell us more about this and why now is the right time for this initiative?
So what we've seen is certainly driven by the pandemic that we're all experiencing at the moment, an increased desire by customers to have a immersive experience, but a touchless one at the same time. And so back in April of this year, we launched our very first online store, the ability for customers to buy their Volkswagen online without visiting a dealership. And as the years progressed, we've certainly been listening to our customers. And the one thing that many customers have called out to us is they'd like to be able to try on their new car, their new Volkswagen, before they make that final decision. And so augmented reality or AR certainly seemed to be the best way to go about that, and a great way to celebrate our two new small SUVs, the T-Cross and the T-Roc, which only went on sale, or the T-Roc only went on sale just over a month ago. So rounding out our experience on the small SUV, we wanted to make sure that we celebrated that with the launch of the smallest dealership, and of course, along with that, the opportunity to jump on in and get a bit of a feel for how the car would fit into your life. Probably don't want to see how the T-Roc or the T-Cross sits in your living room, but if you do, you can. Probably better to see how it looks in your driveway or in your garage, but really giving the consumer the ability to interact with the brand and our new products when and where they want to.
And obviously, with AR, you just need your phone or your iPad or a tablet. You don't have to have the headset. And so that opens it up, democratizes it to everybody.
Yeah, as long as you've got a relatively new, 3 or 4 year old Apple iPhone or an Android device of a similar age, then you'll be able to use this technology and a reasonable internet connection, and you're fine. You're set to go.
Yeah. So does this mean that there's no physical location and that it's completely online? And just sort of a rush of questions. I mean, how do people organize a test drive if they want one? Is this an Australian or a world first? And if people do want a test drive, do you point them towards the closest dealership?
So from our point of view, and certainly what we understand, we're the first automotive brand in Australia to take the consumer from that augmented reality space right through to purchase, if that's what they want, all digitally, online, and from the convenience of their homes. In the Volkswagen world, perhaps also globally, the first to do so. And when it comes to each customer, we don't want to dictate a journey for them. Some customers actually don't want to test drive the vehicle before they purchase it because they know it's the car for them. Others, of course, want an extended test drive. So through the augmented reality app and our online website, online e-commerce site, they're able to jump into the journey that suits them best. So if they'd like a test drive, we connect them with the dealer to our dealer partner to arrange that. And that can be their closest dealer or a dealer of their choice. And then each dealer works with the customer based on what they need. So some customers want to go into the dealership and perhaps compare and contrast other models. Others would like the convenience of the car being delivered to their home or their workplace to start the test drive. Yeah, so sorry, Alex, I was just going to say here at Volkswagen, one of our core promises to customers is that we make it simple. And the AR experience, our online store, and of course our dealer partners all play a part in making it simple for the individual customer. So we don't want to send them down any particular path, but the path that suits them and their lifestyles.
Yeah, the one of least resistance for the end user. Now, also, I guess that means that if they want to take delivery of the car, they can, again, go to the dealer of their choice, or the car will be delivered to their door, presumably on the back of some sort of a truck, which then the car rolls down.
Absolutely. So again, we don't dictate that experience to our customers, but we do certainly encourage our dealers to find the solution that suits customers. I think about before I worked here at Volkswagen Group Australia, and my mother lives in another state, and when I bought her a car, I wasn't going to fly to Queensland just to take delivery. The Dealership would take care of that. We would do everything more remotely, and it was a good experience. But now with the e-commerce site and our other digital tools, it's just so much more seamless and convenient for me as a consumer to be able to interact with the brand and our dealer partners.
I'm just imagining, how does somebody pay for their car? I mean, normally your credit card has a limit. If you've got an Amex, there's probably no limit. But do people make a bank transfer? What do they do?
So, of course, not everyone pays cash for their car. To secure your perfect car, you make a deposit online using your credit card. It's really simple. It's a $500 deposit, and that secures your specific vehicle. So online, you can choose something that's in stock or built to order, and then that secures your vehicle. And then from that point, our dealer partner gets involved and we'll accept, obviously, a direct bank transfer if you're paying by cash or through some other financing range. Or again, customers through Volkswagen Finance can apply online for their car loan through us using the Volkswagen Choice program and then settle their loan, albeit remotely through our dealer partners, and then have the car delivered to them at home. So it really can be extremely touchless and extremely convenient.
Yeah. And so if someone does buy a car completely online and they haven't done a test drive, is there some sort of cooling off period if they change their mind, want a different model, don't want the car? What's the situation there?
So all of our standard policies exist. We don't differentiate between someone that walked in to the showroom floor or purchased online. But what I will absolutely give the guarantee on is that we continue to exceed our obligations under the Australian consumer legislation. And that means that the customers can buy with confidence. Buy with confidence that we're going to be with them, not only 48 hours or 10 days after their first purchase, but for 5 years with their warranty and beyond. So again, it's really just about making sure that customer loves the car that they've purchased and that we're here to help them.
And whilst I'm thinking of it, how do people find this new Volkswagen dealership? Is there a web address that they go to? Do they just type Volkswagen into Google?
So if you go to volkswagen.com.au, you'll actually on our front homepage, you'll be directed into our brand catalog, which just launched last week. You can explore the entire brand range there, of course, but also dive into the AR experience, specifically on the T-Roc and T-Cross, and also some information on the website around how to get into the smallest dealership. And I have to say, I was at the Opera House when we were getting ready to launch the smallest dealership, and the detail in that model is just phenomenal. And our guests obviously will be able to see that online.
Yeah, and I guess over time you'll extend the AR experience to all of the different cars in the range.
Certainly, that is the expectation. I've already said to the team that in 2021 we need to, with all our new vehicle launches, make sure that as part of that plan we've built in adding the AR experience, and then by the end of next year have that rounded out to all of our existing models as well. So of course next year we have the new facelift of Tiguan coming, our popular mid-size SUV, and new Golf 8 arriving as well. So those two cars, which will arrive in the first half of next year, will be the next off the block in terms of that augmented reality experience.
And you mentioned before that you opened an online store in April. So when was the first car sold in Australia online? And do you know when the first one was sold that way overseas?
So I don't know the details of the first one sold overseas specifically on dates, but I do know that within 48 hours of the online store being live, we had sold our first vehicle. Over 400 customers have purchased the car online. I was just looking at the stats earlier today, and over 900 customers have either purchased a car online or purchased a Volkswagen Care Plan, which is a service package for their vehicles, online. And with relatively little media or support behind it. So, of course, we participated in Click Frenzy earlier in the year, and I'm really excited that in November we'll be part of Click Frenzy, the first automotive brand in the country to participate in our biggest online shopping experience. And just like earlier in the year, a great way for consumers to grab themselves, something a little bit extra, a little bit more special through the online store. But just reinforcing that I was reading a stat that over 30% of consumers in Australia are willing to buy a car online without a test drive in 2020. So we want to be where those customers are, and also have our dealer partners be where other customers want us to be.
Now, you mentioned before that the AR experience was very detailed. So I just get you to go into a bit more detail on that. Presumably, it's better if you've got an iPad or a larger Samsung tablet than it is on a phone, but no doubt it's just the size of the detailed graphics. But how deep do the details go? Can you even go right down to emulating the CarPlay or the Android Auto experience, and having the car start and having that noise happen when you hit the start button?
So the cars goes to about 10 times the size of the real car. So it does get zoom in, and across the T-Cross and T-Roc, the features are the same. You can choose the color. You can open and shut the doors. You can turn on the
bonnet,
headlights, open and shut, a whole range of features. You can look inside the car. It's really quite phenomenal, and this is new for us. So you can only imagine over time more and more details and interactivity will become available in the platform. I was playing with it last week as we were getting ready to launch, and the team hadn't told me about the lights being able to turn on and off again, and I startled myself when I'm just clicking around, and all of a sudden I had the lights on. But importantly, it's more than just being able to open the door or turn the lights on. There's information balloons that come up to support the customer to understand the car and the features of the vehicle as well, because it needs to be more than just a toy. And I cannot emphasize enough that this is a really practical buying tool to help consumers understand what their lives would be like if they were driving a new T-Cross and T-Roc, and help them really experience in the convenience of their home.
Yeah, I mean, eventually we'll have, although, VR headsets are widely available, they're still not as easy to get your hands on as the phone that you already own. But I mean, eventually you'll be able to, use the VR experience to sit in the car and go for a drive all in VR. And
so we already use virtual reality within the Volkswagen network. So earlier this year, we held Volksfest, a community day where enthusiasts come and explore both the historical Volkswagens, the Beetles and the Combis that people remember from their childhood, or at least heard stories about from their parents.
Know and love, yeah.
And then, of course, the T-Cross and the T-Roc, our newest cars, along with the new multivan range as well that's coming to market. And at that event, we actually had a modified Volkswagen Golf R with virtual reality. So you popped into the driver's seat, popped on your helmet as such, and you could change gears. It was very tactile. The seat would move based on what you were doing, and we use that technology as well in our training. So really, been on a journey over the last couple of years about bringing virtual reality and now augmented reality into the classroom for our dealership networks, and now augmented reality for our customers, to really have an immersive experience, but an accessible one. And we talk a lot in the customer space about being convenient, and part of convenience is accessibility. And definitely, as you said, you don't need any new tech. Your phone or your tablet will be able to use this, and you can also use the tool on desktop as well. But from my personal view, it's more immersive if you've got it on your tablet or on your phone.
That's right, just moving it around, just seeing it right then. There's your driveway, and there's the car sitting in there. Yes, well, that AR experience is certainly magical, and it's fascinating to see it has now been extended to cars, and it's happened so quickly. So the other question is, what else can be augmented or made virtual? I mean, could you organize for your car to be picked up, to be taken for a service, and then somebody will call you, and whether they're just doing a video call or a phone call, or maybe showing you something on your car that they've fixed, and then also from the point of view of, I'm sure Volkswagen cars won't need any roadside assistance anytime soon, but if somebody did need some assistance, could somebody, whilst you're waiting for NRMA or AAMI or Volkswagen's own people to come, if you have that service as part of the Volkswagen Care, where they could be showing you things on the screen that you could be trying, and you could sort of hold the phone in front of part of the dash or part of somewhere in the car, and and they're actually showing you, hey, tap on that or push this. Are those things already available or planned for the future?
So certainly it's a fantastic concept and something that we're exploring with our roadside assistance partners. Our first question that we pose to our partners is, how can we get the customer mobile faster? So, I'm not sure if someone runs out of gas that we'll be able to get that through the augmented reality experience. That would be
Not
quite,
yet.
it'd certainly be good for the pocket, wouldn't it? But we certainly, we have been working with them about making that whole experience more seamless. I can remember just last year, we launched the ability to use the GPS in someone's phone to allow our roadside agents to directly track to the customer. Because, quite often these inconveniences don't happen when you're on the corner of Nolan Street and Nolan Street, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So we've certainly done that. And of course, the ability for the consumer to track the arrival of the roadside assistant team member. So we've had that in place in direct response to customer feedback. And now we're working with them around, that knowledge is helpful to a consumer, but how can we get them back on the road faster? And very much you might see in coming months the launch of something like you suggest. Certainly over the phone, we can do some of that triage, shall you say, already.
Yeah.
But that more immersive experience is certainly something that we're looking at. And again, leveraging technology we use internally today when we have dealers that need some remote assistance because they've got a particular problem with a vehicle they're servicing that perhaps they haven't come across or don't understand. So I think you'll find certainly the Volkswagen brand and the Volkswagen group of brands continue to push into that realm of using technology, not for the sake of technology, but to improve the lives of customers and team members alike.
Yeah, no, it's an excellent idea. I mean, clearly to have the mechanics able to access the experts wherever they are in the world to look at something and, show them something with VR goggles, AR goggles, or just with their phone, that's an incredible help. And also when I've waited for couriers to deliver things, I've complained to the courier companies when, the person hasn't arrived. It's like, why can I track my Uber car or my pizza, but I can't track this package? To the same sort of degree, and to be able to track your technical support, NRMA or AAMI or whoever it is, person to come to you I'm surprised that AAMI and NRMA haven't done that themselves, and I'm very pleased to hear that you've done that, because it's just a great peace of mind thing. Instead of waiting for that text message to say they're 15 minutes away, you can see it.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, very good, very good there. Now, a friend has a Volkswagen that they purchased from the past couple of years, and it's got this giant screen. In fact, you can see this tiny little line. It's like 2 7-inch screens stuck together or something like that. It's
yes.
very big. Yeah. And, that was a clever way of getting, 2 screens. But how has the Android Auto CarPlay and the native Volkswagen, in-car computing entertainment experience evolved in these 2 brand new models?
Well, of course, Android Auto and Apple CarPlay aren't new to the Volkswagen family. We've had it across the range now for more than 5 years as a standard feature in our vehicles, because it's something customers want to use. And it provides a safer environment for them to interact with their phone to make a call or for navigation. But I'm really excited that in the model year 21 release of many of our vehicles, there's further enhancements. So wireless CarPlay comes to Apple CarPlay in a number of our vehicles in 2021. USB-C charging in a number of our vehicles as well, almost across the entire range, in fact, USB-C. And of course, those screens don't get smaller. Many of, if you look at our top of the range models, the Golf R, for example, the Touareg, the Tiguan, even the cockpit that you have your speed and fuel gauges in, now all of that is becoming digital as well, and meaning that you're able to customize the experience to you and the information that you want. So certainly when it comes to CarPlay and Android Auto, it's not going anywhere. It's going to be stable in our brands, and certainly those screens just get more crisp and in most cases bigger. I can remember the time when you just had this one LED strip and it would tell you the FM dial you were on. And of course, now most people are listening to a digital music service or podcast when they're driving.
Absolutely, absolutely, and have full control and have ways running in there and pop-ups with all sorts of information and doing it in a way that's safe and not causing you to, take your eyes off the road for long periods of time. I mean, every car should have it, and obviously every modern, new car does,
Yeah. Well,
pretty much.
just to reinforce, our smallest car, the Volkswagen Polo, comes standard with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Our largest car, which is in fact a van, the Volkswagen Crafter, it comes standard with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay as well, because it's something consumers ask for, but importantly, it's a safe way to interact with your phone for the approved purposes while driving. And we're the only car company that for 5 years has had it across the range. It's a really important tool that many of our customers love.
Now, the next big thing in cars, obviously, is the electric cars, the hybrid cars, and the autonomous cars. So, what's the short version of where Volkswagen is with that next development in automotive technology?
So, of course, Europe and the UK is celebrating the launch of the ID.3, Volkswagen's first all-electric car as part of our new ID range. Here in Australia, we'll be launching with the ID.4, and it's the perfect car for Australia. It's our first all-electric SUV, and that will be arriving around 2022, we think, here in Australia. Of course, those dates can move around a little bit, but the response to the ID.3 has been phenomenal. German engineering at its best, with the consumer at the heart of the design process. So really looking forward to the ID.4 coming here. And what I think you'll find is that autonomous driving and the features that make up autonomous driving will evolve over time. Think about driving the Volkswagen Touareg today. It's adaptive, and many of our other vehicles have adaptive cruise control, lane assist. There are a number of driver assistance programs today which are anchored in what ultimately becomes autonomous driving. So it'll be about finding what customers want. Talk to a lot of consumers, and they're not necessarily prepared today to let go of the steering wheel. And so what we'll be looking at is, over time, as introducing features that consumers want, that are well tested and are reliable. And that's certainly what Volkswagen is known for, is that quality of engineering and the reliable technology that we deploy. So ID.4, the first SUV to come to Australia that will be all electric. Out in our training facility here, we have a couple of hybrid vehicles that we've been using for testing and training, and we're certainly excited to get the ID.4 here, and we'll be fighting to get it here as soon as possible. But there is a lot of interest globally around the ID.4, because it will be launching in the US as well.
Sure. Now we're getting towards the end of the interview, and I always have sort of three standard questions that I like to ask. One is about the future, and it's always sort of like a 10-year time frame. So, what do you think cars will look like in 2030? Obviously we've spoken about a lot of the automation and all that sort of thing, but 10 years is a long time. Anything could happen. So, what do you foresee?
I think what we will see is that cars, they're not going. I don't think they're going to be flying, but cars will divide their space up differently. And by that, I mean a lot more of the cabin space or the available space in the vehicle will go to the consumer to be able to relax and enjoy the space. And of course, the size of engines will shrink as we move to electric, because there's less moving componentry. So that's one of the things that we'll see. And I also think we'll see a much greater blend between how we use our cars and the mobility that it offers to us. So not sure we'll be fully autonomous within 10 years, but I do believe that it will be about luxurious internal spaces that are designed around how consumers want to be mobile in the current world. And it's one thing that doesn't change through the years, as people enjoy the freedom that owning a car gives them. And so I think we'll still see people owning and enjoying their cars, but enjoying them in a slightly different way.
Yeah, the mobile lounge room, the mobile office, the mobile entertainment center. It's all possible.
It's all possible, and importantly, with the platforms that we're developing, all customizable. So what might be right for you or for me doesn't have to be the same for the next person that buys exactly the same car, but with the ID platform, they'll be able to choose what features and benefits, what technology is deployed to make that unique individual experience.
And presumably some of the cars will be able to reconfigure themselves at the push of a button. You know, the interiors will move and shift to suit a family or to suit one passenger, and you know, those sort of things will evolve over the next few years as that becomes much easier to implement.
Well, one thing I think we can both agree on is that 10 years is a long time in technology, so anything is possible.
Absolutely. Now, my second last question is always to simply ask if you can share some of the best advice you've received in life to help you get where you are today.
So for me, it's always been focused on delivering results for customers. So I started my first business at 14 years of age, and ever since that time, as an entrepreneur or working for some of the world's largest brands, it's always been about how can you make the life of a customer better, because ultimately that's why we have a job, is to look after our consumers out there. And as Chief Customer and Marketing Officer here at Volkswagen, you know, absolutely over the last 5 years, our focus has been a relentless obsession about not being perfect, but getting better every day and constantly wanting to improve and to deliver on the needs of our consumers for today, but also for tomorrow.
So, what is your final message for iTWire viewers and readers, and for your current and future customers and partners?
Well, my final message has to be back to the reason we got together today, and that's to encourage everyone to visit volkswagen.com.au, jump onto the T-Cross or T-Roc site so that you can experience the new smallest SUVs to come to the market in the Volkswagen range with our new augmented reality tool. Get in there, play around with it, see what it looks like to have a car parked in your lounge room and imagine the new car in your driveway.
Absolutely. Well, Jason, thank you very much for your time. I hope we can speak again in the future, and I wish you the best of success with the new AR showroom. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alex. Appreciate it.